Today on Rappler, Typhoon Pablo maintains its strength as it heads towards Surigao and Davao. President Aquino wants the House of Representatives to vote on the Reproductive Health Bill. And supporters of the Freedom of Information Bill urge President Aquino to certify the bill as urgent. Hello, I'm Maria Ressa. Welcome to Rappler, your social news network. Typhoon Pablo, international name BOFA, maintains its strength and is now headed for Davao Oriental as well as Surigao. 5 more high-risk areas are now under signal number 3. The typhoon packs maximum sustained winds of 175 kilometers per hour and gusts of up to 210 kilometers per hour and is moving west-northwest at 26 kilometers per hour. Public storm signal number 3 is raised over Surigao del Norte, including Siargao, Surigao del Sur, Dinagat, Agusan del Norte, Agusan del Sur, Misamis Oriental, Bukidnon, Davao Oriental, Compostela Valley, and Davao del Norte, including Samal Island. Signal number 2 is raised over Southern Leyte, Bohol, Southern Cebu, Negros Oriental, Siquijor, Misamis Occidental, Lanao del Norte, Lanao del Sur, North Cotabato, Zamboanga del Norte. And signal number 1 is up over northern Palawan, including the Calamian group of islands and Cuyo Island, in eastern Samar, western Samar, Leyte, including Biliran, Aklan, Capiz, Antique, Iloilo, Guimaras, Negros Occidental, Cebu, including Camotes Island, Zamboanga del Sur, Maguindanao, Sultan Kudarat, Sarangani, and South Cotabato. Pag-asa warns people in coastal areas under storm signals number 3 and number 2 to expect big waves and storm surges. President Benigno Aquino tells the public Monday, follow the government's advisory and evacuate as needed.
Hindi po biro ang potensyal na pinsalang dulot nitong bagyong si Pablo. Tinataya po na siya ang pinakamalakas na bagyong papasok sa ating bansa ngayong 2012. Intense rainfall po ang dulot ng bagyong ito. Ngayon, hindi po biro itong bagyong parating, pero handa na po ang gobyerno. Inaasahan ho natin ang kooperasyon ng lahat para maiwasan ang kapahamakan ni Numan.
Pablo will be in Cagayan de Oro by Tuesday afternoon. As President Aquino said, it is expected to be the strongest this year. It is expected to be 110 kilometers southwest of Iloilo City and 330 kilometers west of Calapan, Oriental Mindoro by Thursday afternoon. President Aquino wants the House of Representatives to vote on the Reproductive Health Bill this week. Aquino meets with at least 170 members Monday to break the deadlock on the controversial measure. The president favors the bill but says he will let lawmakers vote according to their conscience. Ifugao Representative Teddy Bagila tells Rappler Aquino wants a decision from the House to allow the Senate to discuss the bill and act on it. Deputy Majority Leader Marikina Representative Romero Kimbo quotes Aquino as saying, if he were in Congress, he would vote in favor of the bill. Kimbo adds, Aquino asked that the vote be done because it is time to set aside the divisive issue. HIV cases in the Philippines are rising at an alarming rate. Local and international agencies unveil a plan to curb its spread. Natasha Gutierrez reports.
When it comes to HIV prevention, the Philippines is going against the worldwide trend and lagging behind its Asian neighbors. In 2011, 5 million people were living with HIV in the Asia and Pacific region. Countries like India, Myanmar, and Thailand, where the number of infected people are highest, have reduced new infections by more than 50% in the past decade. The number of new infections here has risen by at least 25% from 2001 to 2011. The Department of Health estimates about 9 new cases of HIV a day. ADB Vice President Stephen Groff says the World Bank and the Department of Health are working together in an HIV prevention program that will concentrate on big cities in Metro Manila and Metro Cebu.
ADB and the World Bank, together with the Philippines Department of Health, designed a project that will focus on high-quality services provision, providing information to targeted groups and advocacy among key stakeholders.
According to the DOH, trends have changed in the Philippines. From predominantly females, most of those infected are now men, specifically men who have sex with other men. Factors that cause the rise of numbers in the Philippines include poverty, minimal condom use, and lack of information. DOH Assistant Secretary Enrique Tayag says they know the root of the problem. Now, intervention is essential.
We need investments, and we have our framework. We invest in prevention, in strengthening the health systems, and more for treatment care and support if that's necessary.
There are about 21,000 Filipinos estimated to be living with HIV. The number may reach 40,000 in 2015. The good news is the government and development agencies understand the problem and are acting now. The goal of the Asian Development Bank is getting to zero. Zero new infections, zero discrimination, and zero AIDS-related deaths. Analysts believe that the virus can be eliminated completely, but encourage the need to step up interventions, to challenge the stigma, and to encourage public debate. Natasha Gutierrez, Rappler, Manila.
Freedom of Information Bill supporters urge President Aquino to certify the bill urgent. They also call on both houses of Congress to immediately tackle the bill in plenary. The Right to Know Right Now coalition says putting it on high priority will, quote, save it the delay from the interval of days needed in passing bills on second and third readings. Congress will take its Christmas break in 3 weeks. With the campaign period coming up, attendance will be a problem in 2013. President Aquino did not include the bill in his priority list. The Commission on Elections says it will bar the party-list group of actor Willie Revillame from running in the 2013 elections. The Group 1 will serve is among 32 party-list groups in COMELEC's latest batch of disqualified party-list applicants. The group did not file a motion for reconsideration. COMELEC Commissioner Rene Sarmiento says the group has no track record in representing the marginalized. In the Philippines, guns represent power, and in Philippine politics, shooting buddies can translate to alliances. Catherine Visconti reports.
Professional shooting attracts an elite crowd, among them a handful of powerful politicians, including President Aquino, Senator Miriam Defensor Santiago, and Congressman Jack Enrile. The most important local gun competition this year is the Senator Bongbong Marcos Cup, named after the son of the former Philippine dictator. Many of the courses are sponsored by members of major political families. An Ateneo sociologist says guns represent power.
For these people, they actually seek it out, okay? Maybe because of the recreation, and maybe to a certain degree, okay, the power that it symbolizes.
For politicians and non-politicians, the sport also fosters camaraderie. Shooting friendships can translate to big alliances off the course. The president stood up for his shooting buddies when they were under fire, including former Interior Undersecretary Rico Puno, political advisor Ronald Llamas, and Land Transportation Office Chief Virginia Torres. Senator Marcos says politicians liking guns is only a coincidence.
It's nothing to do with politicians, it's to do with Filipinos. Filipino guys like guns.
Guns are common in the Philippines. A 2009 paper by the Philippine Center for Transnational Crimes found that there is one gun for every 51 Filipinos, or at least 2 guns for every family clan. Civilians own 2/3 of all legal guns, more guns than the police and military combined. The Philippines isn't that far away from the United States for deaths related to gun violence. A sociologist from University of the Philippines explains guns spread in Philippine society because many believe they can't rely on institutions.
It's not cultural. It's not in our blood. You know, the persistence of violence is more rooted in the institutions that have been built.
Professional shooters point out hobbyists are not the problem. It's unlicensed gun owners.
In fact, they don't use licensed guns. So they don't follow the rules, they don't follow the law.
Fariñas and Marcos both acknowledge some politicians have guns for defense. But both insist there is a clear line between those who use guns in competitions and those who commit violent crimes.
We're looking to play this game and we're looking to have fun with each other and maybe win a trophy or 2 along the way. You know, so we have bragging rights and say, look what I did. The sport helps you train for the life-threatening situation, but they're different things altogether. I don't need a fight. I don't want to fight with anyone. If I can run away, I will.
Marcos may be willing to run away from a fight, but he says he wouldn't run away from a shooting date with the president. Aquino and Marcos's political parties formed an alliance this year, but the two are not exactly friends. Marcos's father, Ferdinand Marcos, imprisoned Noynoy's father, Benigno Aquino, during martial law.
Sure, why not? I mean, I'm happy. Every time I'm shooting, I'm happy. It doesn't matter who's there, who's not there, you know.
Given that your fathers are such strong political rivals, what do you think people would think if they knew you were going on a shooting date?
Oh, they'd be surprised that we're not shooting at each other. Because everybody wants us to be fighting. All the press always saying, oh, why are you fighting? We're not fighting. If somebody, we go to a range, we go shooting, we're shooting. That's it. There's no...
Marcos and Aquino, separated by politics and history. But guns and the politics of accommodation may bring them together. Marcos and Aquino are an unlikely pair, but in a country where many politicians are willing to overlook the past to make politics in the present run more smoothly, we can't count it out. We don't know if the match will happen, but if it did, it would be fun to watch. Catherine Visconti, Rappler, Hawaii, Ilocos Norte.
The U.S. economy faces a looming fiscal cliff of rapid contraction if Democrats and Republicans fail to agree on new tax measures and budget cuts by January. But Harvard economist James Robinson is optimistic that the U.S. Congress will strike a deal before the December 31 deadline. Robinson, author of the book Why Nations Fail, is in Manila to speak to the Aquino cabinet about inclusive economic growth. He says middle-income countries, not the poorest of the poor, could be affected if both political parties fail to reach a compromise. Robinson remains confident this will not happen.
I'm sure that at the last minute there'll be a compromise, and that it's happened many times. If you go back and look at the United States in the last decade, every year there's a crisis like this with the budget, and it goes down to the wire, and then they make an agreement.
Watch the full interview with James Robinson on Talk Thursday, December 6 on Rappler.com. Representatives from 25 nations bordering the Pacific Ocean are meeting in Manila to set new rules for tuna fishing in the high seas. The 9th regular session of the Western and Central Pacific Fisheries Commissions opened its annual meeting Sunday with conservation measures high on the agenda. Environmental NGO Greenpeace says the world's tuna stock is in critical condition.
Globally, the gist of the issue is that there's too many vessels chasing fewer and fewer fish, and it's been a particular case in point, the plight of tuna stocks around the world. So we've got some tuna stocks that have been brought down to a level where the stock is critically endangered. 95% has been wiped out.
In 2008, the Fisheries Commission imposed a limited ban on tuna fishing in selected pockets for 4 years to stop the decline of harvested tuna. The Commission also gave the Philippines a special exemption. Agriculture Secretary Proceso Alcala says he expects the Philippines to retain its exemption because the government is serious in implementing laws and conservation efforts. The Philippines is one of the world's leading tuna catchers with $284 million in export revenues in 2011. At least 9 people died after a Japanese road tunnel collapsed Sunday, burying at least 3 vehicles and sparking a fire. Concrete ceiling panels crashed down inside the 5-kilometer Sasago Tunnel, inside the Chuo Highway, 80 kilometers west of Tokyo. Investigators believe decaying ceiling supports may have caused the disaster. An official from highways operator Nexco says there's still a risk of further collapse, although the ceiling was inspected in September.